First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna set up with liner so we don't waste any good material. The first thing we do is we measure the distance from the frame to the first label, and we subtract 1/4 of an inch. Then we re-web the material. We're going to eliminate all the tension from the back, so it will be easier to set up and bring the material down. In this case, we're going a little bit further because we have an RD scoring system on the bottom of the press. So we're going through the blades, and then even though that we are going to be moving the material and the material is going to be moving by the bearers, which in this case, since we're not putting any pressure, there won't be any problem. So the first thing will be that we're going to start aligning this material because we want to make sure that the material is perfectly aligned from the beginning of the press to the end of the press. That way we will be able to set up the blades here. We're gonna put minimal pressure on the back, a little bit of tension, and a little bit of tension on the front. We should have now consistent tension. Now we're gonna slow down. Now we can set up the blades here. The way we're gonna set up the blades is that at the edge, we know where is the material coming from the edge to the first blade. So we're gonna set up the first knife of the RD score. Then we're gonna measure the distance from one RD score blade to the second RD score blade so we can have cut just the liner to the exact measurement. At this point, it's not an accurate cut because since we don't want to hit hard the blades, we're just playing with the liner, not with the material. Now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to set up these rotary blades. So what we're doing here is that we're gonna eliminate the tension here so we can move this roller easily, and we are going to move the machine so we can see where those screws are located. So we have here the screws. So we already, the easiest way to do is that you're gonna set up from the edge of the material, you're gonna set up the first blade. or you can use one of the edges of the anvils to use it as a guide. Before that, the whole carrier, you want to make sure that it's centered, that you have the same distance here than you have it here at the edge. That way, if you move the whole station, you're going to have the same movement to both sides without dragging any blade out of place. So the first thing you do is you're gonna set up each one of these anvils. Then you're gonna measure from this edge to this next edge with the ruler the distance. It doesn't matter the number, you just want to make sure that the number is accurate. So in this case we have 1 inch and 1/8 of distance. The next thing is that we're going to set up the blades. So for that we're going to be opening the blades with this screw right here. And we want to make sure that when we bring down the blades, we're not going to hit any of the anvils. Otherwise, that blade, a slight hit is going to damage the blade. So what we're gonna be doing is that we're gonna bring down the blade, which is already down. We're going to put this lever down. That way, the blade it's not gonna be able to move up. And then we're going to open the screws at the blade. And we have to make sure that we have a little bit of space here, at least 1/4 inch opening. That way, when we adjust these blades, we're gonna have a little bit of gap to open them when the material is not running through the blades. So now we're gonna set the blades against the anvil. All right. We have to lock the screws. It doesn't have to be very, very tight. This system, if the blade it's too tight or one of the blades is not hitting very hard to the anvil, we have here the springs that allow the blade to keep some consistent tension against the anvil. But we don't want to have a lot of tension here. So now that we have here there's no space in the anvil and the blade it's hitting the right place, we're gonna be opening it up. We're gonna be separating the blades from the anvil. Now we're gonna release this lever, this tension, move up the blades, and now we can move back the material. Now we're gonna put some tension. We're gonna bring back the tension here. So this shaft's supposed to get a little bit harder. Now we're gonna bring down the blades very carefully, and then we're gonna go through the material by just locking down the tension from the blade to the anvils. So as we speed up the machine a little bit, that should start ripping the material. We have to do it slowly, and then we put a little bit more pressure so we have a consistent cut. This should cut perfectly the paper. It shouldn't leave any fibers. It should be a perfect cut. You have to make sure that the blades are completely clear from adhesives. It shouldn't be an adhesive here. If you're always setting up the material and the blades with by the gaps and not by the label itself, it shouldn't get a lot of adhesive on the blades. So now we have set up the system. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to set up now the good material. So now that we have the measurement, now we know where the material goes, and we have a ruler here. So in this case, we know that the material should be around 9.